To today's Human Angle, the program where we capture the acts of kindness, support and love shown during this period of the coronavirus pandemic adversely affecting the global socioeconomic space. We begin with the story that Malaysian Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin will be home quarantined for 14 days after an officer went. Muhyiddin has tested negative, but all members of the meeting have been instructed to undergo screening and 14 days home quarantine, the statement added. Coronavirus is believed to be spreading throughout Yemen, where the healthcare system has in effect collapsed, the United Nations said, appealing for urgent funding. Referring to aid agencies, Jens Lack, spokesman for the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, said at a Geneva briefing, "We hear from many of them that Yemen is really on the brink right now. The situation is extremely alarming. They are talking about the health system, which has in effect collapsed. They are talking about having to turn people away because they do not have enough medical oxygen. They do not have enough personal protective equipment," he said. Yemen authorities have reported 184 cases, including 30 deaths to the World Health Organization, its latest figures show. The actual incidence is almost certainly much higher, Lark said. South Africa could see up to 50,000 coronavirus deaths and as many as 3 million infections by the end of the year as the Southern Hemisphere winter leads to a higher rate of infection, scientific models showed. The country already has the highest number of infections and deaths on the continent, with more than 18,000 identified cases and 339 deaths, but a national lockdown entering its 8th week had slowed infections. However, scientists and statisticians hired by the health ministry to model the spread of the disease said the country could see between 35,000 and 50,000 coronavirus deaths by November. One by one, governments worldwide are gradually easing tough restrictions meant to contain the spread of the coronavirus, even as in some countries, infection numbers continue to rise. The move highlights the pressing need to cautiously reopen economies and restore livelihoods, but the path towards post-coronavirus normality is vigorous and long. With no known treatment or vaccine available, experts warn that an extensive lifting of controls could spark a second and perhaps deadlier wave of a pandemic that has so far sickened more than 5 million people and caused the virus until the end of June, its COVID-19 task force said in an effort to keep infections under control after almost 2 months of closure as the number of cases slowed. But bars, nightclubs, cinemas, playgrounds and some sports remain proposed the extension in response to developments with the global pandemic and to allow time to prepare for further easing at the start of next month. Britain has extended its mortgage payment holiday scheme for homeowners in financial billion mortgage payment holidays had been taken up from a scheme that was launched in March. Homeowners still struggling financially could also have the option of making reduced payments. Everyone's circumstances will be different, so when homeowners can pay some or all of their mortgage, they should work with their lender on a plan. But if they are still struggling, I want them to know that help is there, John Glenn, the Economic Secretary to the Treasury, said in a statement. Bulgaria, which has started to ease its lockdown, has removed a ban on the entry of visitors from the European Union and Schengen visa zone countries, the health ministry said in a statement. In mid-March, European Union member Bulgaria banned entry to its territory to travelers from many countries in an attempt to contain the spread of the novel coronavirus. The ministry said that people arriving in Bulgaria would continue to spend 14 days in quarantine. New South Wales, Australia's most populous state, has said restrictions imposed to slow the spread of coronavirus will be eased to allow cafes, restaurants and pubs to have up to 50 seated patrons. losing 221,000 wide job losses. We don't want to see that continue. The measure will take effect on June 1st. Nationally, nearly 600,000 people were forced out of work in April by the coronavirus restrictions, which has been hard hit by the coronavirus pandemic. A lot about flexibility and working from home during the nation's lockdown, which was eased last week. New Zealand's tourism industry had accounted for about 10% of the economy, but has come to a halt during the outbreak, according to the Associated Press news agency. The South Pacific nation's border remained closed, but Ardern said that as much as 60% of tourism was domestic and that more flexible working arrangements could allow New Zealanders to travel more within their own country. South Korea's export of coronavirus test kits are expected to gather momentum down the road thanks to high overseas demand, Yonhap news agency reported, quoting industry sources. Yonhap quoted the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety as saying that 72 test kits are emergency use locally. Several test kit makers have already clinched more orders this year than last year's total, with Suguntech Inc. securing $49 million worth of deals to export coronavirus test kits since April 1st. The company has been producing 2 million kits per week this month. The Russian military has set up a quarantine facility at a Siberian gold mine where hundreds of workers have been infected with the novel coronavirus. The Olympiada mine in the town of Yeruda has emerged as a top spot of contagion, with more than 800 workers testing positive for COVID-19. The new facility can accommodate as many as 2,000 patients. Russia has ranked second behind the United States in the number of infections, with more than 300,000 coronavirus cases. At least 500 Cuban health workers are helping tackle the new coronavirus in Mexico City, Mexican officials told Reuters news agency, making it likely the largest contingent that the communist-led island has deployed globally as part of its response to the pandemic. Mayor Claudia Sheinbaum has publicly acknowledged the presence of several Cuban doctors working in the city's hospitals to help make up staffing shortfalls, but she has not confirmed the scale of deployment. A federal health ministry told Reuters there were now 600 Cuban health workers on the ground. Both sources asked not to be identified. Cuba has for decades sent medical professionals to countries across Latin America and as far afield as Africa to help during health crises. As COVID-19 continues to devastate the world, a growing number of countries are opting to use invasive surveillance methods to stem the spread of the virus and flatten the curve. Since the emergence of the novel coronavirus, several countries led by Israel, China, Singapore, and South Korea started collecting security camera footage and bank records and using facial recognition technology to join this trend by releasing COVID Safe, a coronavirus app. The UK also known to be trialing a similar mobile phone app to increase its contact tracing. The majority of the population is not used to being subjected to overt mass surveillance. The discussion surrounding the implementation of these measures has focused on privacy. But there is reason to be concerned about this new wave of surveillance beyond privacy. Unless we acknowledge the role surveillance plays in perpetuating structures of oppression, the use of tech-based surveillance method to tackle the virus will serve to compound the suffering of most vulnerable communities. We can see what surveillance is really for and who usually pays the price for it simply by looking into its history. The current confirmed COVID-19 cases in Nigeria are 7,016 of the pandemic in the nation, with 3,093 cases, followed by Kano, 875, and FCT Abuja, 446 cases. Imo, 7, Anambra, 5, and Benue, 5 are states with the lowest COVID-19 cases. Kogi and Cross River states are still yet to record an official case of the novel coronavirus. A total of 41,907 sample tests have been carried out by NCDC, while there are currently 4,898 active cases. And that will be all for today's edition of The Human Angle. You can send your videos and pictures to news@proshareng.com or programs@proshareng.com and let us share your experience and views. Visit our website www.proshareng.com to get more updates from our news stories and videos. Also, follow our social media platforms showing on the screen for further updates on our market reports. Be sure to join us by 6 p.m. for our evening segment, which will be streamed live on our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope channels. Till tomorrow, thank you for watching and do stay safe.